From one neighbor to another, WCTE PBS is here for you. Coming up next is Live at 5 on WCTE and our streaming platforms to give you updates on communities throughout the Upper Cumberland.
All right. Sounds like we're live here, and thank you so much for tuning in for our Live at 5. We are utilizing the same Emergency Operations Center production studio that we have with Putnam County and the city of Cookeville. Have been here today with a very important press conference or news conference of update with the COVID virus. So I'm Becky Magura. I'm the president and CEO of WCTE, and I'm very excited to have with me Dr. John Averitt. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And this is an important moment for us. We're going to be here for the next half hour and share the importance of really mental health during crisis like this.
Well, I'm a licensed psychologist, designated as a health service provider. I'm on the Cookeville Hospital staff as a psychological hospitalist. Been in practice for many years. I moved here in 1974, actually the day before the tornado of April 3rd, 1974. And so I'm just here to help and to provide as much help as I can to the community, the county, and the surrounding areas.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And, you know, it's ironic. This is April 3rd, and we've had quite a month. This is exactly a month since the EF4 tornado touched down here in Putnam County. And, John, I know you've done a lot of psychological work, just really helping people cope. And how do you cope with something so major in our community?
Well, as I understand it from Tyler and the others, this is the first F4 tornado to hit Tennessee. And as you know, it started the other side of Nashville and worked its way, or maybe several tornadoes worked its way here. And we had more loss of life in our county than any other place in the state, probably because of the severity of this tornado. And I was in the ER that day, a month ago this morning. And we had a lot of trauma, people coming in, families, and those who were injured, and the staff at the hospital was just great.
Right.
The way to deal with it, obviously, is to just face the fact we had this terrible situation, and people in this community have worked together so amazingly well. And I've done several debriefings, seven, I think, than the couple of days following. I tried to emphasize to people, you know, your reaction is normal given this abnormal event.
Right.
Your feelings, and people need to talk, and people have been talking. The church communities met that Wednesday night, many of them. People got together, the nursing staff and all the staff at the hospital had debriefings, doctors had debriefings, and the community had some debriefings, and I emphasized to them, just let yourself feel what you feel and talk about it and share. And remember your children. You know, they need to understand that this was an abnormal event, and people need to mirror for them the strength and the hope that we'll get through this, and we are getting through it.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you've done. I know it's been tremendous, and we're going to continue to talk about this because how we protect ourselves in this really trying time is challenging, and especially now that we're dealing with COVID-19. One of the things that Mayor Shelton and Mayor Randy Porter have done throughout this past, really since March 3rd, is regular updates. And today was no exception of that. And really one of the things that Mayor Porter led with was remembering the tornado victims and survivors and wanting you to know that we're still here for you. We're going to show you a little recap of some of the press conferences from this week. And thanks to our partners at Lightwire and Nathaniel Rich, who's there. We're going to roll that tape, and then we'll be back and talk in just a moment.
As we continue to deliver classes for students in an online format, students and faculty will complete this spring semester through online instruction, and that began today. So we extended spring break for an extra week this past week. So students have been away from campus for really over 2 weeks now. Most of them are still away from campus. the total campus community has been reduced to a small fraction of what it normally would be at this time of year. Those students are continuing, however, in their normal spring coursework through online instruction, and we really greatly appreciate the work of the faculty to make that possible.
These are very, very difficult times for all of us, as we know. With ever-changing conditions and reports, we must now face the fact this is the new normal. With the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in our county, it is confirmed we do have one. It is even more important that we act with certainty in every decision that we make. We must heed the advice of medical experts and not continue to live as usual. This is not easy with children, with elderly parents and neighbors, and working spouses, but it is critical that all of you use some common sense in all the choices that you make until this crisis is over. It is a matter of life and death for all of us. This is a serious situation. We all realize it. The president has said it. The governor has said it. Now local officials are saying it as well. Please heed the advice of those who know what the situation is.
We have people without electricity from the events of Sunday. Caney Fork Electric Company is still working tirelessly to try to get electricity back up. People are stressed out. I think that's an understatement. This is a time to be kind to your neighbor. This is a time to help your neighbor when needed. Be overly patient with people. You don't know what they're going through.
And I'd like to update you on plans that began when the first case of COVID-19 was confirmed in the state of Tennessee. St. Thomas Health, including St. Thomas River Park Hospital, began preparing surge plans in the event of a major outbreak of COVID-19 in each or in any of the communities that we serve as soon as the first positive case appeared. St. Thomas Health is working with Vanderbilt, HCA TriStar Hospitals, the Tennessee Department of Health, and local city and county government officials, as well as local health departments. We implemented a system-wide incident command center in Nashville, as well as a separate incident command center based at St. Thomas River Park Hospital for the Upper Cumberland Regional Hospitals.
Today, as of 2 p.m., our total number of confirmed positives in Putnam County is 31, which is 7 more than yesterday. The other counties in the Upper Cumberland that have confirmed positives are Cannon with 3, Clay with 1, Cumberland with 14, DeKalb with 5, Fentress with 1, Macon with 4, Overton with 2, Smith with 3, Warren with 1, and White County has 2. Again, Putnam County has 31 confirmed cases.
We at the medical center are prepared for this. We are doing everything we can to isolate these individuals. We're doing everything possible for our employees and our staff and our community as we continue to try to flatten this curve and stop the spread of COVID-19. A couple additional comments and statements I'd like to make today. We have been looking on a daily basis at alternative situations or alternative places that we may be having to take care of some of these COVID patients as they come in. So let me reassure you that the hospital and medical staff are well prepared and well advised on what to do in these situations.
The governor has just changed the previous directive he did. He just issued a mandated stay-at-home directive. So each of us must stay home except for going to work and going to the grocery store. He signed Executive Order 23 just a few minutes ago. It says, over the last few weeks, we've seen decreases in movement around the state as Tennesseans socially distance and stay at home. However, in recent days, we've seen data indicating that movement may be increasing. We must get these numbers trending back down. I've updated my previous executive order to clearly require that Tennesseans stay at home unless they are carrying out essential activities.
Thank you for being with us on WCT's Live at 5. This is something new we're doing and have been operating the last few weeks. Right now, we're still in the Emergency Operations Center studio. I'm very happy to have with me Dr. John Averitt. We're talking about and what you just heard were actually recaps of this week's updates, briefings from the mayors. Also, our governor has had daily briefings. And I think just that, it's wonderful to have that communication, but it makes it all top of mind, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And how do you deal with how do you encourage families to deal with all of the media that is there and available and constant? How do you kind of find peace as we're dealing with this COVID virus?
Well, I think we have to remember, obviously it's been said over and over, this is the first time this has happened, since the late 1800s that we've had something like this. And we have to remember they made it through without all the media and without all the scientists, and will make it through. It may not take a few days or a few weeks. It may take longer. We don't know yet. But with so many people off because the governor's closing down our communities and saying that we should stay home, it's important for us to focus on our families. For those of you that have children, try to do something constructive for them. They need to be assured. And our being calm is what helps them be calm. Spend time with them. It's good for us and good for them. We're physically isolated, but not socially isolated. Stay in touch with your families. Many churches, all the churches I think now, are doing things online. So participate in those. Talk to people. Use your phones and use FaceTime or whatever mechanism you have to stay in touch with people. Assure one another. Personally, I think we should stay off the social media if you're getting bad information. Go with what the scientists say. The news channels are trying to do the best they can to give facts. Listen to the facts. Now, the facts are probably going to change because the science is changing. And so it's important that we listen to what's going on out there and stay up with that. But try to support one another. And believe me, we'll get through this. In the 1890s, they got through it. Life went on. And this life will go on somehow. Many people are worried about their jobs. The federal government and the states are trying to do what they can about that.
Right.
Try to be hopeful. That's what's critical. And support your children. Do what you can to keep them positive and try to stay positive.
Thank you, John. And, I just want to share with you, we're trying some new things. You may have questions, and you can post those on Facebook to us, and we'll try to answer those in this few minutes that we have here on Live at 5. We'll be live until 5:30. We're really excited to have with us tonight because, John, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, in addition, March was such a really sort of traumatic month in our whole region because not only did we have the EF4 tornado through Putnam County and other counties had damage in our viewing area, but we've had 2 more tornado warnings for our area, and the most recent was just last weekend. And White County Executive Denny Robinson is here tonight. He's going to talk with us. We've got a little bit of footage from White County, but that, they also were hard hit as well as several other neighboring counties. So how do we handle these constant warnings or watches? What's your advice there?
Well, I think it's important to get some sort of way of getting the watches and the warnings, and particularly at night when we're trying to sleep. So get your radios and weather radios and get your phone set up to get those. One of the city councilmen called me and said, should we have the shelters open? The library has a wonderful shelter, holds a lot of people. If you have fears, they've tried to make that available. Check with the city council and see if that's true. Remember, a watch just means it's possible. A warning means take cover. Go ahead and have your safe place. They've been telling you this on the news. Have a safe place set. Have it practice with your children. Make it a fun thing to do. Get there. And do what you can to get ready.
That's right. And maybe be ready when you hear the watch. Maybe just go ahead and be ready. But I downloaded an app recently. It was the Red Cross Tornado app. And it works really, really well. So I would encourage you, have several apps and get that weather radio. We are going to show you another clip. Brent Clark on our team was out shooting on Sunday. He went around to several neighboring counties, I believe Cumberland, White. We also know that DeKalb received damage as well as Warren and Fentress. But we're going to show you some of that recap of that footage, and then we're going to ask White County Executive Robinson to come up here. Although we all know him by Denny Waynes, we're going to ask him to come up here and share with us. Stay with us.
the tornado blew my truck over, and they just uprighted it.
I was awakened by the warning on my cell phone. It was about the time the power went out, so I woke my wife. We went to the bathroom, which is in the back corner of this house here, and a big white pine tree fell on the house just as we entered the bathroom. After about a half an hour, it stopped raining, the initial burst of rain. We came out and circled the house one time, inspecting to see was it even safe to stay in the house. It appeared that it was at the time.
It's pretty much trashed. Got my mirror, damage under the hood, scratched, steps bent, window broke.
Absolutely grateful that neither of us was hurt, and the only harm was to this old house.
Well, as you can see, there was a lot of damage in the Upper Cumberland from last weekend, and we're happy to have with us on Live at 5 here at WCTE, White County Executive Denny Wayne Robinson. And Denny Wayne, what can you just kind of capsule what happened last Saturday?
Well, actually, it was Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, that's right.
About 2:30. That's when the line of storms came through, and I got up to the EOC probably by 2:45. It was I lived there pretty close, and I have to say that was probably the scariest moment in my life as the county executive. We had people calling for help, and we couldn't get to them. Roads down, or trees down, roads blocked, and what happened in Putnam County was going through my mind because it was dark and we couldn't see, how bad it was.
Right.
And so that there for a couple of hours, the not knowing was probably the worst.
And those nocturnal, what they called nocturnal tornadoes, where they come in the middle of the night and people are not as prepared, and they did classify yours as a tornado. Is that right?
Yeah, there was a E0, but they're classifying the straight line winds as actually higher than the tornado winds.
Okay.
And so that's where the majority of the damage. The damage is pretty much county-wide.
Is it? Can you describe them what you found when the daylight came? Can you describe what you found?
Well, when daylight came, it was actually the damage was worse than we thought. Luckily, no one was hurt, and I credited a lot of that to what happened in Putnam County. People were kind of on alert and kind of wait. It was still fresh in their minds, and I really feel like that being so recent activity that it made people more
aware.
But the damage, I got to fly across it there Sunday, and it looked like somebody had just took an arm and just wiped down, just in areas. It was amazing to see.
So if it was countywide, did it follow a particular path?
The tornado part of it did. You could see where the tornado part did follow a path, but the damage, the straight line winds was pretty much countywide.
And so I know you lost power. Can you tell us where you are with power now?
Power is pretty much back on to everybody except those who had damage to their house. Maybe the service line interest was tore away from it, but your main lines and stuff are pretty much back up.
How about what about your tree line damage and buildings?
Buildings, we had quite a bit of structural damage, a lot of lost barns, a lot of lost hay barns, such as that. The lumber, the timber, the debris, we're anticipating probably 3 times as much debris than we had from the ice storm back 4 years ago, which was
wow,
it's going to be amazing.
That is a lot. So you're dealing with that, but you're also dealing with COVID-19, the coronavirus. Can you tell us what you're doing in White County for that?
Well, our public buildings, the city and the county both have closed their buildings off to the public. You can make an appointment to get in if you have somebody that you have to meet. We're trying to encourage everybody to do their business on the phone, by mail. We obviously encouraging people to social distancing, stay at home the best they can. But at the same time, we still got our local economy that we've got to deal with, and so we need people to come do the pickup, do their carry out for our local businesses.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Next week, we're going to focus a lot on small business and the difficulty of having a small business at this time. Can you share what's happening in White County with your business community?
Listen, they're very close to my heart. I ran and operated a small business before doing this, and I understand, if you don't work, you don't eat. That was the way it was. And so it's not as easy to say, stay home, nobody get out. It's not that easy.
Right.
And our businesses are, we're encouraging everybody to go out and try to help them all they can, because these are the businesses that sponsor your Little League baseball teams. They donate to your fundraisers and stuff.
Right.
So this is the time that we need to go back and help them.
That's right. Is there anything that you would definitely want folks to know? I've been checking my phone. I know people think, what is she doing looking at her phone? But we've encouraged you to, if you have questions, to send them to our Facebook, WCTE Facebook. What would you like folks to know? What's next for you?
Oh, well, I'm afraid to say, because after we've had the floods, we've had the storms, and we've had the virus, I'm hoping nothing's next.
Nothing's next,
I'm hoping
right?
nothing's next, to
That's
be honest
right.
with you. I'm actually looking forward to getting back to normal business when my calls were about, barking dogs and,
Right.
and potholes and trash.
Well, I think it's a good point. This really, as a leader, this does challenge every leadership skill you have.
Absolutely.
And what would you suggest with our viewers that, how do you handle this as a community leader?
I feel the weight of everybody. It's really tough, and because there is not a right decision. There is a right decision for the majority, and you still have a large group that's not going to be the right answer for them.
Right.
And they're going to pay the price for it, and it's hard to weigh that out. It really weighs on you.
Well, listen, you've been in our hearts. We're so glad to see you, and so glad that the folks in White County are doing well and not harmed. And I know the damage is there, and you've got to get through the damage. But you guys are resilient.
Oh yeah, well, luckily, nobody was hurt.
Right.
One small injury. Hey, building stuff's aggravating. Dealing with insurance is aggravating.
Right.
It's costly.
Right.
But it's still stuff. At the end of the day, it's stuff.
Right.
We can build that back.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to ask John to just pop back up here. Thank you, Denny Wayne, and John, bring something. We're going to wipe these down. We're making sure that we're practicing the CDC recommendations. We've got about 4 minutes left while we're here, and Denny Wayne brought up a good point, because we're all anxious to get back to normal, but we're going to be changed by all of this. Right? And how do you handle the fact that we're in a new normal?
Well, it's a very good point. I appreciate so much what he had to say. And I know I've been watching our mayors on this presentation. I've been listening to business people, the people where I go get my haircut. He's closed, for instance. I've been listening to him talk about it, and going to restaurants and getting takeout. I'm trying to support local businesses. After here, I'm going to go get takeout to take home.
Right.
And just going into Kroger now, you have to line up to go in. And all the places we shop, everyone's being affected.
Sure.
And the people that come to the hospital, we're admitting every day, they're affected. The families can't come in to be with their loved ones when they're very sick. And that hurts the patients and the family. I mean, I could go on and on, you know the stories. So I don't know how long it's going to take to get back to normal. We don't know. Right. We're not a nation that likes to be uncertain about things. So but the thing I've noticed more, and I think what our ministers are telling us, what my minister is telling me, is that more people are seeking spiritual guidance. So there are some good signs of that. I don't know if our crime rate's down. We'd have to ask our chief of police that and our sheriff about that. I think maybe it is down somewhat. I don't think we had the looters. I don't know what you've seen about looting.
Not too much, he says, so that's
the
good.
Looting is down. We didn't see the looting.
Right.
So the new normal could have some very bad sides to it and maybe some good sides. But we're very adaptable people, and we've got to adapt in a way that's going to keep us going. Like I said before, if you read the history about the 1890s pandemic we had, the Spanish flu, people were different after that. People were different after the Depression. And we've got to rise and work together and bring us together. I think we've been more together than we have been before all of this. So psychologically, emotionally, we've got to adapt and work together as people.
Well, you know, I think that's true, and I appreciated so much what Denny Wayne said and what you're saying. We have to think of each other as our neighbor. Yeah. And so sure enough, you can go buy a gift card online of that local business. That could be a way you could help. If you don't want to go in and you want to stay in place, just go online and buy a gift card. Most of them have that. Or if you can go buy and do takeout, they're doing some really creative things. They'll bring it right to your car and will wipe things down so that you don't even touch anything. So I think we've got to remember that in our Upper Cumberland, John, we're such a tight-knit family. And we have been resilient. So the minute that we have left, anything you want to share with our viewers before we sign off for this particular Live at 5?
Well, one disappointing advantage is the governor appointed me to the Suicide Prevention Network, and our suicides across the state have been up since this virus. You can go to tspn.org. There are lots of numbers to call. If you're feeling despairing, that's a great resource for you, tspn.org. We don't want people taking their lives. There are lots of things that can help you if you get to feeling depressed. Check with your local doctor if you're depressed. Alcohol and pills are not the answer if you're depressed. Not that doctors can't help you. But stay away from the alcohol. Remember, get online, talk to people, take advantage of your social interactions, even though you can't be with people. Right. And give that a place they can get help again. tspn.org, Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. John Averitt, for being with us. And thank you so much for White County Executive Robinson, Denny Wayne, for being with us. And thank you for tuning in. And you can see this again online on WCTE.org. Thank you so much, Craig Lefevre, for being here and making this happen every day, as well as Bobby Adams and Brent Clark for organizing our show. We hope to see you next time.
Thank you for joining us at Live at 5. Be sure to tune in next time for additional updates on communities throughout the Upper Cumberland. From one neighbor to another, WCTE PBS is here for you.